Show of hands, I want you to be honest. I'll remind you, you are in church. How many of you stutter when it's your will be done, not my will be done? Any of you stutter, you kind of trip, you get a little uncomfortable, and you go, well, I'm pretty sure what God means by that is my will be done through God, right? Isn't that how it works? God, here's my desire, here's my prayer, here's my plea. Would you just answer what I'm asking you to do? Because I'm asking in the right motives, in the right heart, and it's going to lead to a great outcome. So God, if you can do what I want you to do, we're all good. Does anybody else kind of pray that prayer in between the lines? Or is that just a pastor thing? Is that just what I pray? Every time, for my whole life, as long as I've prayed this prayer, my dad was a pastor, I grew up in church, we used to read this collectively as a church. I would get to this point and I would stub my toe every single time. Your will be done. As long as it's in line with my will. Like that's how I want to curve it. Your will be done. Your will be done. Your will be done. On earth, in our midst, in our families, in our lives, in our relationships, in our marriages, your will be done, God, in every facet, everything that's important to us. Your will, God, be done. Here on earth, as it is in heaven. That is so difficult to say. It's difficult to pray, and it's far more difficult to live. And yet this is what Jesus teaches his disciples to pray. He invites them to step in alignment with God, not even just in every aspect of their lives, but in their prayer lives. He invites them to intercede. Your will be done. Now, I'm not a Greek scholar. I've told you guys this 1,000 times. I sat down with a Greek professor when I was in seminary. He looked me dead in the eyes and he goes, some people can do this and some people can't. And you can't. So what he should have said is just use Google, because that's what I do today. I use Google. I looked it up. Here's the thing. There's a secret within this prayer, within this passage, that actually leads us to understand how can we actually do this and live this out and pray in the way that Jesus called us to, taught us to, and invited us to. There's a secret in the actual language that it was written. So let me tell you this. I'm going to give you an English lesson for like 2 minutes, but it's going to make an impact, and it's going to change how you see this verse. So walk with me here, okay? There's many times different voices that we can say things in, pray things in, write things down. And so in English, there's two big ones, right? There's active voice and there's passive voice. Okay, let me tell you or explain these first two, okay? So active voice means I'm doing the action. This is why I think a lot of us struggle with this prayer. Your will be done. It's like conceding to the action of God rather than the action of ourselves. We often go into prayer and we go, here's what I want. Here's what I want to see. God, here's what I'm asking you to do. Here's what I want you to intervene on. Here's what I want you to say. Here's how I want you to line up the board so that everything works in accordance with my will. The action originates with us, and we take our action to our Heavenly Father and we say, please do this. That's active voice. Can anybody relate to active voice? We do this all the time. Doesn't matter what category, what area of life. We bring the action. Part of it is our culture. Part of it's just American culture. You want something, you go get it. You want to see God do something, you pray for it. You want to leverage something in your life to accomplish some sort of outcome, you do it, you orchestrate it, you make it happen. The active voice is so familiar to us, we can almost do it without even noticing it. So here's the active voice. The passive voice is on the exact opposite side of the spectrum. The passive voice goes like this: I can't change anything anyway, so why try? The action is done to us. Those prayers might look like, God, I just give them up to you, and I trust that whatever happens, happens. God, I just pray that you would intervene in your life, active voice, but I don't know what to pray for, so just do what you need to do, God. It's like we bounce back and forth, active, passive, active, passive. The passive, the action is done to us. The problem with passive voice is oftentimes doubt can creep into these prayers, and we wonder if they're even worth praying. God, are you even going to pay attention to this prayer? Does my prayer change anything? Have you already orchestrated what you want to see happen? The passive voice is actually, I think, just as much of a struggle for us as the active voice. The active, I mean, we can get ready to tear down a brick wall. The passive voice looks at it, takes a step back, and says, there's nothing I can do about that anyway. So I don't even know why I'm praying for this. I don't know what to pray for. It kind of seems like this is just going to happen the way it's going to happen. You see how the two different voices lead to very different prayers? Before I move on, which one do you identify with most? If you would inventory, I don't know, the last hour of your prayers. If you would inventory that, if you would look at the way that you see God, do you see yourself as one who needs to bring the action and bring the approach and bring the answers and bring the solution? Or do you see one as just going, God, you're going to do what you're going to do, and I know my role, and so just, we're good? Which one do you identify with most? Here's what's so cool about this passage. It's not written in either one of these. When Jesus teaches them to pray, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, it's not active voice, it's not passive voice, it's this thing called middle voice. No idea. All of you are like, this is good stuff. English class 101. I'm going somewhere, okay? What middle voice means is joining the action of another. It's intercession. What middle voice means is the action doesn't originate with you, but it doesn't mean your role is negligent, as in you don't have anything to do. What middle voice is, how Jesus writes this, is here is how you pray. When you intercede, when you ask God for something for somebody in your life, or for your children, for your employees, for your spouse, for your marriage, for your community, for lost people around you that don't have a relationship with God, how you come into prayer with them is you figure out and you try to discern what is God already doing, and then how can I align myself with you, God? How can I actually do that with you? God, what are you doing right now? I don't want to assume that you're doing nothing. I want to figure out what it is you're already doing and figure out my role to align myself with you. Just as it's also, I have no role in this, God's going to do what he wants. God, I think, is inviting us as a people, as parents, as mothers and fathers, as friends, as coworkers, as neighbors, as a church in our community. I think God is inviting us to be a part of what he's doing, and he might just be waiting for us to do it, for him to do something in the lives of somebody else. He's given us an invitation to be a part, to join in, to see something incredible happen because you got to play a role with God interceding on behalf of another person. Author Eugene Peterson, he has a quote. He says it like this. It's so well written. He says, the assumption of spirituality is that God is always doing something before I know it. Pause. God's doing something in your life that you can't see and you can't appreciate yet. God's also doing something in the lives of your family, of your spouse, of your kids, of your neighbors, of your coworkers, everybody we just said. God is already doing something in their lives. You might not even see it yet. So he's saying the assumption of spirituality is that God is always doing something before I know it. So the task, our role, our responsibility is not to get God to do something that I think needs to be done. That's not our goal. It's not to convince him. It's not to lobby him. It's not to bribe him, which we can't. Our role is to become aware of what God is doing so that I can respond to it and participate. And then this last part, and take delight in it. That God's actually invited us to take delight, to find joy, to experience purpose as we come alongside him in what he's doing in the lives of other people and join him in prayer. That's the invitation that God has actually given us. Hey, thanks for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. Hope it made an impact on your life somehow. And if it did, don't forget to like or subscribe or share it on social media with your friends as well. We always love seeing you, and remember that you can join us live every single Sunday. So hope to see you there.